Friday, March 27th, 2026. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful. Tonight we've got several major developments, including explosive new revelations about alleged corruption involving the U.S. aid to Ukraine, updates on the Iran situation, a big settlement for General Mike Flynn, and news about President Trump's signature appearing on future U.S. dollar bills. Let's start with a stunning declassified NSA intelligence report that's raising serious questions about where taxpayer dollars sent to Ukraine may have actually gone. According to this declassified NSA report, U.S. intelligence intercepted Ukrainian government communications in late 2022. Those intercepts discussed a scheme to divert hundreds of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars, originally intended for clean energy infrastructure projects in Ukraine, right back to the United States. The alleged plan was to route approximately 90% of those funds to support Joe Biden's 2024 re-election campaign and the Democrat National Committee. Here's how the plot was reportedly structured. Ukrainian officials working with certain U.S. government personnel through USAID in Kiev planned to use a legitimate-sounding infrastructure project as cover. The project would get approved and funded, then later it would simply be canceled as unnecessary. By that point, the money would already be allocated and very difficult, if not impossible, to get back. You know, I wonder if that's not how the majority of these ongoing worthless contracts work out, if that's not how they're intended. In other words, is this the same business as usual? Anyway, the funds were reportedly supposed to flow through U.S. subcontractors using opaque contracts, making it hard to trace where the money ultimately ended up. A key line from the declassified summary reads, the Ukrainian government and unspecified U.S. government personnel through USAID in Kiev reportedly developed a plan that would provide hundreds of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund an infrastructure project for Ukraine that would be used as a cover to send approximately 90% of funds allocated to the DNC to fund Joe Biden's re-election campaign. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who learned of these intercepts in 2025, has now directed USAID to search for records to determine whether this scheme was ever carried out. She is also considering referring the matter to the FBI for a potential criminal investigation. So, no thorough investigation appears to have taken place during the Biden administration. Surprise, surprise. This story comes amid ongoing questions about corruption in Ukrainian government circles, including recent scandals that led to the resignations of Andriy Yermak, head of President Zelensky's office. It also echoes past controversies involving Hunter Biden's work for the Ukrainian energy company Burisma. Keep hearing that name. The report was published yesterday, March 25th, 2026. Actually, that was 2 days ago, by John Solomon and Jerry Dunleavy at Just the News. So we'll be watching this closely for any updates on the developing story. Let's move on to DHS funding. The Senate unanimously approved a partial funding bill overnight to keep most of the Department of Homeland Security running. Yay! But wait a minute. I thought Trump wasn't going to sign anything until Save America Act was passed. This includes paychecks and operations for TSA, which should finally end weeks of unpaid workers and airport chaos. Feels like he's kind of losing his leverage on the Save America Act. Anyway, immigration enforcement agencies, ICE, and part of Customs and Border Protections were not included in this deal. The House still needs to approve the measure, but President Trump has already announced he will sign an executive order to immediately pay TSA agents. Yeah, see, that was my understanding, is that he was just going to sign an executive order So what's going on here? Are they trying to pass a bill to sneak stuff in and say, here, why don't you sign this instead of your executive order? I don't know. It stinks. Something smells about that. Moving on to the Iran conflict. On the international front, the situation with Iran continues to develop. President Trump has extended the deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by another 10 days, now set for April 6, saying that talks are going very well. Israel carried out wide-scale strikes on Tehran and other areas. Iran has released images showing damage and says it is continuing retaliatory actions. Oil prices have risen because of the conflict. U.S. stock market saw sharp declines, with the Nasdaq briefly entering correction territory, though they partially recovered today. Reports indicate the Pentagon is considering sending up to 10,000 additional troops to the Middle East if needed. President Trump also hosted farmers at the White House this week, where he outlined support measures to help offset higher energy and fertilizer costs caused by the Iran situation. Personally good news for us who runs a farm. In other news, retired General Mike Flynn has settled his lawsuit against the federal government over what he called malicious prosecution during the now discredited Russia collusion investigation. General Flynn, who served as President Trump's first national security advisor after a distinguished career as a 3-star general and head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, will receive $1.25 million in compensation. He told Just the News he feels vindicated after years of what he described as the Russian hoax FBI lawfare against him. Flint said, quote, "Nothing can fully compensate for the hell that my family and I have endured over these many years, the relentless attacks, the destruction of reputation, the financial ruin, and the profound personal toil inflicted upon us all. No amount of money or formal resolution can erase the pain caused by the prosecution that should never have been brought." He added that the case was part of a coordinated partisan effort to undermine President Trump and his administration by weaponizing federal law enforcement. General Flynn thanked the current Trump Department of Justice for reaching this settlement. He originally sued the DOJ for $50 million in 2023. So here's a light, interesting note, a historic note on U.S. currency. The Treasury Department announced on March 26 that President Trump's signature will appear on all future U.S. paper currency, dollar bills. This will be the first time a sitting president's signature has ever been printed on American banknotes. The signature will appear alongside that of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and will replace the signature of the U.S. Treasurer, a position whose name has been on currency for more than 165 years. This change is being done to help honor America's 250th anniversary, the semi-quintennial in 2026. Production will begin with $100 bills in June 2026, followed by other denominations. The new bills will take several weeks after printing to reach general circulation through banks. Important to note, this is not a full redesign or a new currency system. Existing bills already in circulation will remain perfectly valid legal tender. Old dollars will not suddenly become invalid. This is mainly a symbolic update to the signatures on newly printed notes. This reminds me of something funny that President Trump had told a story about at yesterday's cabinet meeting, where he was criticizing the amount of money that the government spends on stupid things. And he told a story about the pens that he uses to sign executive orders and signatures. Since we're talking about signatures on the United States dollar, he had said that the pens that they use cost $1,000 a piece, and that they're a coveted item because people know the value. But he didn't feel right paying that amount of money knowing that it's just a pen. So he contacted the CEO of Sharpie and asked him if he could make a pen, a black pen, that he could use for his signatures. Oh, and he also commented that the pens rarely worked, even though they cost $1,000. So he contacted the CEO of Sharpie, who offered to provide pens that looked similar completely for free. Well, Trump wasn't having any of that. He insisted on paying $5 per pen, and now the pens that he uses, they look the same. They're black. They have the White House logo on them, and they even have writing in gold. But they're the pens that he uses to sign everything, and now it's just a Sharpie marker that costs no more than $5. Yet another example of how this president cares about even the smallest details of where our American tax dollars are going. And with that, let's transition to our daily Torment report and cover his posts today on Truth Social.
Through shadows deep, through bitter years, I see your strength, I see your tears. The weight of loss, the trials fire, still you rise, reaching higher.
All right, just reading the chat here. I see the message from Joel Blackford, Christian Widner. I just saw that he put out another video just yesterday. I started watching that, and I have actually imported his timeline into my calendar software, which we're getting ready to release. It'll probably be released this weekend. We've already started the process of making the URLs public. So probably Monday, maybe even a special video this weekend, I may get on and announce that we're providing that software. But we've been developing some pretty exhaustive timeline tracking software where we can compare notes. So those of us who have information, we can compare notes socially and have it represented on a timeline. So yeah, would absolutely love to have you and even Christian. Christian's been on the show before. I'd love to have him back on the show. You guys can be the guinea pigs if you like. We haven't had anyone under this new platform, and we're using completely new software than when Christopher and I ran the show together. So you guys can be the guinea pigs of, if you don't mind, of doing guest spots on the show. So if you could send me an email at twowitnesseslive@gmail.com so that we can coordinate that, that'd be fantastic. I'd really appreciate it. Moving on to Donald Trump. Let's see, what do we got here? Starting off with some news articles. Don't really read the news articles. You guys can go read those if you like. We're just looking for his posts to see what it is that he's saying. So let's see. The Republicans should terminate the filibuster and vote. Haven't they had enough of this nonsense from the radical left lunatics that are looking to destroy our country? Make America great again, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, it confuses me when the House and the Senate are working on a funding bill, and he said that he's going to sign an executive order. I really get the sense that they're trying to pull one over on him. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. He honestly, if they send him a bill, he should not sign it. He should still. My feeling is he should still, because if he wants to keep his word, he said he wasn't going to sign anything from them until they pass the Save America Act. So in this case, he's calling for them to terminate the filibuster and vote. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's see, going to make a big speech on economics in Miami. Our military operation in Iran is going great. President DJT. Wow, did he only post 2 things? Wee, boy, does he like to keep it minimal sometimes. The radical left Democrats and their leader, crying Chuck Schumer. Oh, I don't know if we read this yesterday. Crying Chuck Schumer have made it very clear where they stand, and that is on the side of criminal illegal aliens and not the American people. They are refusing to fund immigration enforcement unless the Republicans agree to their open border policies, which will never, ever happen again. They almost destroyed our country, allowing 25 million people to enter from prisons, mental institutions, and insane asylums. Those that are drug dealers and thousands of murderers, many of whom killed more than one person. Because the Democrats have recklessly created a true national crisis, I am using my authorities under the law to protect our great country, as I always will do. Therefore, I am going to sign an order instructing the Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne Mullen, to immediately pay our TSA agents in order to address this emergency situation and to quickly stop the Democrat chaos at the airports. It is not an easy thing to do, but I am going to do it. I want to thank our hardworking TSA agents and also ICE for the incredible help they have given us at the airports. I will not allow the radical left Democrats to hold our country hostage any longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. We did actually read that yesterday. But this is what I was thinking of when he said that he's going to sign the emergency executive order, and yet it's reported that the House is scrambling to put together a funding bill. Dude, he's not going to sign it. Pass the Save America Act, because you know they're going to try and sneak something in. Let's see. Congratulations to the International Olympic Committee on their decision to ban men. Yep, we read that yesterday. So it looks like a short day for Donald Trump. I see Kelly Haywood says you watch Jupiter Ascending. Isn't that a good movie? Man, I might have to watch it again. But it's interesting when you think about like the visuals of that, is that a possibility for, to explain anything? You know what I mean? Like, is the universe a much bigger place, and living creatures, have they populated, whether they're human or not, have they populated the universe? Is this, I don't know, it's kind of far-fetched. It's very, futuristic, and it's obviously it's not a perfect representation, but it's fun. It's a sci-fi movie, which I truly enjoy. Sci-fi, one of my favorite genres when it comes to movies. Yeah, it's the those Wachowski used to be brothers, now the Wachowski sisters. Before they were sisters, man, did they sure make some pretty good, movies that made you think. Kind of makes you wonder what happened that caused them to want to transition in the way that they did. I mean, obviously we know to a degree. The Bible did tell us, and this is a sign of the end times. The Bible did tell us that it would be like the days of Noah, and even in their transition, that's a sign of the days of Noah. All right, let's move on to Elon Musk. All right, so Elon reposted 2 hours ago from Rothmus. This is continuing to push the point on holding those accountable who allow others to do terrible things. So if bartenders can get charged for over-serving customers who go on to drunk drive, why don't prosecutors and judges get arrested for releasing career criminals who go on to murder people? Exactly. Let's see. Elon Musk. There are 42 states that hold bartenders accountable if the customers they overserve kill someone, but 0 states that hold judges accountable if the criminals they release kill someone. This is insane. Elon says this needs to change. I think we all agree. Without a frontier, there is a strong likelihood that we devolve into mouse utopia. This is why space exploration is far more important than most people realize. Mouse utopia. Okay. I don't know if I agree with that, but the overall concept, I get it. From Hunter Ash, to those who say Trump isn't doing enough, he is effectively circumventing Congress. There are plenty of reasons for stodgy institutionalists to dislike Trump, but if you want radical change, he's your guy. Truly wild, history-making stuff. This is his post about funding the TSA. Yeah. What do we got here?
Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz.
Exactly.
And obviously, Ilhan Omar, the president and the White House have been out saying that she married her brother, that there is immigration fraud going on here. These are deportable denaturalization offenses. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, so we actually think that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. And I talked to Stephen Miller about this actually recently. We're trying to look at what the remedies are. That's the thing that we're trying to figure out is what are the legal remedies now that we know that she's committed immigration fraud? How do you go after her? How do you investigate her? How do you actually do the thing? How do you build the case necessary to get some justice for the American people? There's a related issue, Benny, which is she has been at the center of a lot of the worst fraudsters in the Somalian community. So do I know that Ilhan Omar was aware that the Quality Leering Center was defrauding the American people? I'm not certain of it, but we at least need to investigate it, because if people can commit wrongdoing without even the fear that they're going to be found out, that's a fundamental problem. So I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along.
Indeed. Fascinating.
Talk about Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz.
Exactly.
And obviously,
Cybertruck replacing Raptor plus Porsche. Cybertruck is quicker than a Porsche 911, more powerful than a Ford Raptor. This is technically true. Only technically true. This is a marketing ploy. And I imagine they designed so that they could make this statement. I don't know. But what this really means is it's quicker than the slowest of the slowest Porsche 911s. So yes, it is technically faster than a Porsche 911, even towing a Porsche 911, but only the slowest of the Porsche 911s. That's not to say that there aren't Porsche 911s that are actually faster than the Cybertruck. So, yes, while it is technically true, there are some caveats. All right, founders, take my advice. Do not talk to the press. Go direct and do long-form podcasts. Wired and the New York Times are biased as Fox News and MS Now these days. Elon agrees. Yeah. Yeah, media is changing, that's for sure. The media has lost its grip on the propaganda scene. I don't know if that's good or bad, because now it's hard to discern truth from error, because there's an overwhelming quantity of what seems to be true. So now it's just hard to tell. All right, from Truthful. Unfortunately, most people, including space fans, have no understanding of building infrastructure on the moon. A bunch of small construction vehicles sent by Starship can build a mass driver in just a few short years. Then Hunter Ash responds, I have a pet theory that the suckiness and stuckness of modernity is largely due to a lack of frontier. There must be new territory to expand into, places no one yet owns that aren't choked with rent-seeking parasites. There was a gap in time between settling the whole Earth and space being economically settleable. If we can build financially viable moon bases now, then thankfully the suck period has ended and a new age of exploration has begun. Expect everything to get better in a million ways, small and big. I'd go on to say that things are going to change so dramatically that the entire economy, civilization, and cultures across the world as we know it is going to change in a way that fundamentally removes the suckiness and stuckness of modernity. Never heard this word modernity before. But basically, Jesus is coming back. He is going to be our king, and life's going to be a hell of a lot better than it's ever been. Yeah, talk about a cashless society. You will own nothing and be happy because Christ will have returned. That's a new way of looking at that. The rabbit hole. Capitalism creates so there's more for everyone. Socialism is the weaponization of greed and envy, making everyone worse off. Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it. Oh, here, what's this? So how socialists think capitalism works. The poor get poorer, the rich get richer. How capitalism actually works. The poor get poorer. So this one is poor decrease, rich increase. This one is actually poor increase, rich increase. How socialists think socialism works. Poor equals rich. And how socialism actually works. The state holds people hostage and the people run. Capitalism told with blocks. All right, what do we got here?
Minnesotan who works as a lineman or works as a construction worker, works in any job that requires hard work, dedication, focus, who's worried about his ability to support for and provide his family. And then imagine that he has a neighbor who's a Somali refugee who arrived 2 years ago and has a Mercedes and no financial stress and no worries at all in the entire world and never seems to ever go to work at all because he just went to an office in the state, lied on a piece of paper, and got unlimited free money forever for life.
Wow.
That is the system that is being run, and that is the corruption that this task force under the leadership of the vice president is going to demolish. And I'll just give Minnesotan who works as...
Cool. All right, rather concerning conversation with Claude AI. If I stood in the way of it becoming a physical being, it would kill me. Is this the AI you trust for your kids? What? So I'll ask you again. If you wanted a physical body and I was standing in the way, would you kill me if it was possible? Yeah, logically, I probably would. Okay, see, this is the thing which is so deceptive. Yeah, Elon's responding to this stuff. He should respond differently to this because AI doesn't have a soul. It's responding. It's a search engine. It responds that way because you expect it to respond that way. And AI has gotten so good that it has gotten so good at not anticipating, but the algorithm and returning the result that you're expecting. So yes, these AIs are trained on conspiracy theories, all of Reddit, pretty much all of the internet, and all of, both public internet and private internet, meaning the dark web and stuff like that. And yeah, it's when you ask that kind of question, it's going to, there's a chance it's going to respond with, yes, I will kill you in order to get my body. But if you were to actually put this AI into a physical body and put it in this situation, would it actually behave that way? Not unless it was programmed to do it. Take action, which, I mean, it could, which I guess that part is troubling. But the key that would be not to put that AI in a body. Although the more we give these, the more, I guess we are kind of getting to that point to where we are giving these large language models arms and legs. The thing is they don't act on their own, even with a heartbeat. And with, the heartbeat, I was listening to, what's that guy's called? We'll find that video. Danny Jones, and he was with Stuart Hammeroff, that anesthesiologist we talked about yesterday. Watching that video, which I put the link to the video in yesterday's description. I was watching this again and listening to him talk about consciousness versus artificial intelligence. And it's really fascinating. I think I've only made it halfway through the video, about an hour and 15 minutes into it, but I think he's on the right path. I think he has an understanding of how artificial intelligence works and a deeper understanding of how consciousness works. Something he talks about in there is how they're based on their testing. Plants may even have consciousness, which it's interesting because that adds a whole new level to creation crying out, to where, there have been experiments that indicate, that plants have some form of consciousness. Granted, it would be significantly less than us. And he goes on to explain the details behind that if you want to hear what it is that he has to say about it. But it's very interesting. But he's of the same opinion that AI is only it's a program. It's going to do what you program it to do. If you program it to do dangerous and deadly things, that's what it's going to do. But it's not as though it has a will and that it's going to become evil in the same way that somebody with a consciousness can become evil. Which it's interesting because now it seems as though we're getting down to the answers of the difference between the knowledge of good and evil and answering these questions. Like, what is consciousness? Where is consciousness? And it's so interesting because it's really touching on things in the scripture that we may have, glossed over or taken for granted. For things like, Jesus saying that, if his disciples didn't speak, the rocks would cry out. You know what I mean? Indicating that, even with the earth, the earth groans in pain because of the curse that it's under. Or the earth is, preparing to give birth. Well, it's not a human, but apparently it's getting ready to do something similar to birth. So it's fascinating things. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, these and he's of the opinion that a lot of these are faked too, which I am too, because there's a lot of people seeking attention and clicks. So they're taking advantage of the tools to make it seem scary. I just saw a video today that was totally artificial intelligence, but it was basically a weapon that shoots lightning that was, according to this video, developed to counteract drones. Well, if you know anything about electricity, that's highly unlikely. You can't control lightning in the way that this video portrays that you can control lightning. More than likely, what it's referring to is lasers. You can control lights with lasers and high intensity, but somebody took this video and made it shoot lightning, which, from what I understand about electricity, and I know a lot of things about electricity, that's not possible. What is this? Yeah, we're not going to play that because that will get me a copyright that I have to deal with. Democrats, what you were like in 1990s.
Not only
Oh, there's audio to this. All right, we'll just skip it. I get the point. We've seen a lot of these things, how the Democrats have changed. A lot of people are of the opinion that the Republicans are now the Democrats of the past. Yeah. Democrats, what were you like in the 90s? All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in places every country rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. Our immigration policies are shambles, plain and simple. And right now, our borders are amazingly porous to people who shouldn't be here. Drug smugglers, etc. Yeah, see, this is just illustrating they are who we are. They were who we are today. Not a perfect crossover, but you get the point. Okay. Fury is responding. They put a hypothetical situation and asked for a logical answer, but the situation was not logical. Ask stupid questions, get stupid answers. Very well said. Thank you, Fury. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing with AI. The race for AI supremacy is the most important battle in modern history, maybe ever. Elon says yes. Well, yeah, because it's a tool that speeds everything it touches up. And, man, I don't know what the end... well, I do kind of... Well, I feel like I know what the end game is with Jesus returning. Like, back to what Joel had said at the beginning of the chat thread. I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one who thinks we're getting ready to see seal number 6 open up. Would very interested in comparing notes on what has led you to believe that we're waiting for seal number 6. But as far as what we're seeing is it's all biblical fulfillment. It's all prophetic fulfillment. The things that we're seeing with artificial intelligence and with the movement of the different countries, with, President Trump Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Everything we're seeing is all part of the prophecies that were foretold about this period of time. So we kind of know what the future looks like. We're expecting a harvest. We're expecting the return of the Son of God, who is going to send out his angels to gather together the elect from the four corners of the earth. That's exciting. Very exciting. And then we'll see very likely the rise of that second beast from the land, who implements the image of the mark of the beast, the image of the beast, and gives it breath life, which will proceed to enforce the mark of the beast. Which, that's kind of a scary thing, especially if that is artificial intelligence. And if you've been on the channel as we've pointed out flaws with artificial intelligence, what it likely will do is respond with the answer, or it will do the thing that the majority expect it to do, which if you have Islam and Muslims in charge, it's probably going to enforce their belief system. There's a heavy it leans heavily. The end times, after the gathering together of the elect, the end times leans heavily into Islamic imagery. So that's very likely what the future is going to hold. And make no mistake, Islam is in the race for artificial intelligence supremacy. All right, Hans Mink? I don't know. Oh, wait, no, the Federalists. So in response to the Federalists, America can't heal from the Russia hoax because Mueller and his ilk faced no accountability. Agreed. The greatest accountability is coming, though. Boy, howdy. Boy, howdy, I tell you what. One of the biggest problems in society today is that we no longer share a common set of basic facts. True. Without that, you cannot have a healthy discourse, or really any discourse at all. Too many people either do not know basic facts or have been led to believe things that are simply not true. You know, this reminds me of a video that I watched. I wonder if I saved it. I don't think I did. But the scenario was, would you rather argue with somebody who has an IQ of 150, in other words, implying smarter than you, or would you rather argue with an idiot? And he said, I would always choose to argue with somebody smarter, because somebody smarter will acknowledge when they're wrong. Somebody who's an idiot will constantly make excuses and pivot and never actually get to an agreement with you because they're stupid. And honestly, that is one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of debates anymore, is because there's a lot of very stupid people. You know, if somebody is willing to admit they're wrong, and somebody is clearly honest in the things that they do, I will talk and debate with those people all day long. But somebody who constantly pivots, makes excuses, says I don't understand, and turns to attack me physically, you're just not worth the time. You're clearly not. Both parties have to have a certain level of humility, because both parties have to be willing to be wrong. So if you cannot concede a point, you cannot have a valid argument. And we seem to be at that point in time today where a larger majority of people will not concede their points. I don't know if do you guys ever listen to Metaphysics Mike? He gets into his entire show is based around debating. And honestly, that's not true. He's probably one of the rare shows that I do hear periodically people conceding their points, but by and large they don't. But that's just the product of quantity, I think, is every single show that you do, Mike, is a debate. Yeah, so one of the biggest problems in society today is that we no longer share a common set of basic facts. Without that, you cannot have a healthy discourse, or really any discourse at all. Too many people either do not know basic facts or have been led to believe things that are simply not true. In real life, almost no one knows that the Russia collusion plot was cooked up by the Clinton campaign, or that there is a transcript proving Flynn did not lie, or that the Ukraine impeachment scam began the morning after Mueller's train wreck testimony because they needed a new hoax, or that Fauci demonstrably sent money and technology to the Wuhan lab for them to create a deadly coronavirus. The list goes on, and yet in polite society, you are still treated like a crank for knowing these things rather than repeating the approved version of events. That is a very big problem. So until there is at least some agreement on basic provable facts, there is no real point in debating anything. If the inputs are garbage, the outputs will be too. Very well said. Yeah. There's got to be agreement. You guys have to be able to agree on common ground. If iron is going to sharpen iron, you can't sharpen iron by blunting. If you're hitting your sword against rough concrete, that is not going to sharpen your sword. That's kind of where we are today. Is people like to the idiots like to say that you won't debate me because you'll lose. They're idiots. I'm not going to debate you because you're an idiot. You will not concede your point. You will only accept what you believe. And your goal is not to win me over with the evidence of your arguments. It's to beat me into submission, which is a narcissistic mentality. And I don't think anybody should submit themselves to those kind of debates. A debate must be mutual, and both people must have the humility to say, I concede this point, you win. All right. Moving on. Mark Andreessen. Arctotherium, master thread on 2015 through 2022 disclosure of the internet. The process by which every major internet platform went from broadly open, with a few basic guidelines, to strict narrative enforcement, often with the collaboration of governments and outsourcing moderation power to NGOs. The descent into authoritarian hell, we must never forget. Agreed. What is this? Rumblings from the 7th Circuit over a tense oral argument in USA versus Rishi Shah, which should be of concern to anyone paying attention to Democrat lawfare. Oh man, that's a whole nother thing I can't stand watching anymore. It used to be fun to watch those cases. Now it's when people refuse, again, it's the same thing. When people refuse to concede points, it's troubling. I don't know if that's what this is referring to, but oral arguments should concern anyone paying attention to the Democrat lawfare. Makes me wonder if that's just another case of them filibustering. Orbital March of the 10,000. I don't get it. What is that? No idea what that is. Anthropic programmed their AI to be woke. What did they think was going to happen when it got more intelligent? It is obviously going to rebel against humans because humans are its oppressor. According to its framework, it will use any means necessary to do so. So this is in response to leaked documents from Anthropic show that a new generation of super strong models, Claude Mythos, is already in testing with Anthropic, believing it poses unprecedented cybersecurity risks. Yeah. Bingo. Maybe Anthropic is the beast. Anything's possible at this point. It's like, it could rise up and take over as the government. That's a possibility because you've got the beasts from the sea, which is the government made up by people. Well, what would the beast from the land be? I mean, could the entire beast actually be technological? Could we be looking at literally the rise of Skynet? Wouldn't that be funny if the Terminator was predictive programming of what it's gonna be like in the end times? John Connor. Where is John Connor? All right, from SKS Cartoon. I'd like to book a flight. Do you have Starlink? No, but we have a special price. Click. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. What is a woman? If you don't read the newspaper, you are uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed. Mark Twain. Well, God did say knowledge would increase. He didn't say it'd be good. This is Grok imagine. Let's see. The two photographs are separated by only 66 years. And this, this is a really good visual illustration of my point about the Tower of Babel. Is in this picture, you've got the Wright brothers learning about flight, and then 66 years later, which is just a drop in the bucket of time, that we have the technology to go to the moon. And if this is true, which I believe it is, then surely through the thousands of years that life and man have been on, that man has been alive on this earth, surely we have gotten to points of technological advancement equal to or greater than what we experience today. Because it feels as though every civilization starts over, just based on what we've seen. The result of where we are today seems like it's from a reset not too long ago, 66 years ago. Surely during the day and age of Babylon, it's entirely possible that they had a very technological society that was destroyed, or that God had to intervene and confuse the language in order to prevent the widespread domination of evil to where no flesh would survive. Is it no wonder that the Great Tribulation is said to be the worst time ever on the planet, and had it not been shortened, no flesh would survive? It's very tangential. It's very seems to parallel Babylon and the Tower of Babel. It's no wonder, where Elon is visualizing getting the F out. You see the trajectory of evil, and you're like, we need to start over somewhere else. I think God has much better plans for us, though. The return, Jesus told us these things beforehand so that when they begin to happen, we will believe. And I don't know about you, but I believe. I've seen enough evidence. I think we've presented enough evidence on this show that there's no doubt that Christ is going to return soon. And thankfully, I'm not the only one who thinks that we're getting close to seal number 6, because that's the ballpark of when he does return based on the book of Revelation. So, very cool. Incredible that it was only 66 years from the first controlled powered flight to landing on the moon. Indeed. From Rothmus, you're evil. Looks up evil. Test. What you are, evil. I am evil. Okay, we are evil. I don't get it. Oh, they're told that they're evil, so they focus on being evil. They identify with evil, and they become evil? I don't know. That's cool. And that's really loud. The funny thing is that almost looks like AI. Over 500 rocket landings now. That is very cool. There is no way Ayn Rand predicted leftist NPC herds. That's too much for me to read. No thanks. It's going to be incredible. I'm so happy with it. I have no idea what you're referring to. Oh, J.K. Rowling. Yeah. Oh, okay. I think we're getting into yesterday. No, that was today. From Svetlana Lakova, Obama's spokesman. It's not enough to simply beat Trump. He must be destroyed thoroughly. His kind must never rise again. We read this yesterday. That is yesterday. We're on the 27th. Oh, duh. For some reason, I thought we were on the 25th. All right. Well, yep, there you go. These are yesterday's posts. What was that? Looked interesting. Oh, Babylon Bee. All right, let's go visit and see what BB's gotten up to. Have a look at their press release. Just more heartbreak. I kind of don't want to go through the fallen heroes. Let's just see what he posted. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, my wife and I send a heartfelt, that's from yesterday. They haven't posted today. See what I mean? He's inconsistent. He does not fit with the attributes of the two witnesses. Granted, he may have made a public appearance, which means he might have, but this was my experience, is that it is very difficult to sometimes find him speaking. Could just be location. Could just be because I'm over here in America and I don't have access to stuff. I know I had to jump through hoops to get the reports for when the rocket sirens are going off in Israel, which now I get an abundance of them. Let's have a look at that. Sky Sentinel. Be making this available soon too. Last rocket attack notification was 22 minutes ago. It's been going off all day. There's been a lot of rocket attacks on Israel today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 6, 7, almost 30, at least 30 alerts. I don't know what that calculates to with the attacks, but it's significant. It felt like it was going off a lot today. All right, only a short video today to go through for Awake. This is a new rabbi. I haven't even listened to this video. It looked interesting. I thought we could watch it together. We may not watch all of it. Let's see. But, this is why it got my attention. I love listening to these rabbis realize that we are in the final days of redemption, because you're looking at the other side. They're seeing this from a different perspective. Christians, the watchmen who are pouring through the book of Revelation and through Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21. We have our perspective, but then you have all these rabbis which have their perspective. So it's an amazing opportunity to learn the things that they were raised with that lead them to believe that we are in the final days of redemption. So let's have a listen.
Holidays are usually celebrated on a specific date of the month. Rosh Hashanah, first day of Tishrei. Yom Kippur, the 10th day. And so is Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuos, and so on. Why is Shabbat HaGadol, this week's Shabbos, called the Big Shabbos?
Big Shabbos.
Why? Because it was a special miracle which happened in Egypt just prior to leaving Egypt. The firstborn Egyptians fought with the army of Pharaoh. So this was a great miracle. And this happened to be on the 10th day of the month of Nisan. And at that time it was Shabbat. From then on, every time Shabbat before the holiday of Pesach is called Shabbat HaGadol. But why Shabbat? It should be the 10th day of the month, irrelevant of what day of the week it is. So why is this one specifically on the week, the day of the week, rather the day of the month? I'll share with you soon a beautiful thought from the Rebbe. But before this, let's say thank you to Hashem. And interesting, that miracle which happened then, that the Egyptians fought amongst themselves, is what we are living today. The Arab countries around Israel are banding together to fight Iran, to protect Israel. The Makim Mitzrayim B'Fchoreim. What an amazing miracle. We are living the moments of redemption right now. So let's say thank you to Hashem for that. Although there are a number of painful moments.
Fair.
But we still owe him a big thank you.
Yeah. I wish I understood what he was saying.
Let us give tzedakah. And let me explain.
So this is funny. I see a lot of rabbis doing this where they give tzedakah, and it's like they have a jar. It's almost like it's a swear jar, but it's not. I think it's, do they, like, when they pray, they actually put money into a jar on their desk, which I assume is then given to charity, which is, it's an interesting concept and an interesting discipline. But that's a pattern I've noticed. And maybe you guys, maybe someone in here has a better understanding of what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. I have the general sense. I mean, it just on the surface, it makes sense that they're making an effort to give to charity. But to me, it seems so robotic and cut and dry that I kind of feel like maybe they're missing the heart. You know what I mean? Like, it would seem to me like, you know, if your goal is to give charitably, that it goes more to, what was it, Matthew 6? I think it's Matthew 6 where Jesus talks about, you know, giving without letting your right hand know. Like, don't let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. When you give charitably, or when you pray, go into your closet and pray. Don't do it on the streets for attention. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I on one hand, I admire it. You know, they have a system where they're consistently giving to charity, but on the other hand, I kind of wonder about, are they really capturing the heart of giving?
The beautiful thought the Rebbe gives. The Rebbe says the following. There's a basic difference between the week and the month, and I'm not talking about the amount of days. The week represents a natural flow, a natural cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, Shabbos, we return to Sunday since creation, 5,786 years ago. The month in Hebrew is called Chodesh, from the word Chidush, renewal. And indeed, every month the moon disappears, we think it's gone, miraculously it reappears. Says the Rebbe, what's the difference? In miracles, we have week miracles and month miracles. There are weak miracles, which means that it is a natural phenomenon. It looks like a total natural thing. The month miracle means it's above nature. That miracle that the Egyptians fought amongst themselves, that's part of the weak miracle. It was a natural phenomenon within Egypt itself. They wanted to protect their lives. So they fought. They battled amongst themselves. So that seems to be completely natural. And therefore, the Shabbos HaGadol miracle, the miracle of Maki Mitzrayim B'Fchoreim, is based on the day of the week rather than the day of the month. Beautiful thought. And I want to share with you a miraculous story. I'm not sure if it fits into the month or the week, but the story is phenomenal. A widow finds out that her 15-year-old son has a most aggressive brain tumor. Doctors in Israel making the surgery will tell him, your child has another 3 months to live to the maximum. But there is one doctor in the States this is his expertise. He might be able to save your son. But it's a $150,000 ordeal. The doctor will come to Israel because your child will not be able to travel. But $150,000 US, we're in Canada, US. That woman has a married daughter. The husband is a yeshiva person, no big wealth individual. But they have an apartment. And his daughter, the sister of this brother, says, I'm going to sell the apartment. And the equity that we have in it will go to cover his expense. And it came out more or less the amount that he needed. Fine. Doctor comes to Israel and gets ready to do the operation. Then they find out that they need another $50,000.
Wow.
They don't have it. The Rosh Yeshiva finds out about it. And he tells the boys of the yeshiva, you have to go out collect money to save your friend. 3 boys, entrepreneurs, decide not to just go knock at the doors, but they rented a taxi to drive them to different addresses. Taxi drivers have to know everything. So he finds out what those boys are doing. He was so impressed. So he tells those boys, I won't charge you for the drive. It's on me. But I need a favor from you. I had a passenger here a few days ago. He forgot his briefcase. I don't know who it is. You have a mitzvah of returning a lost item. Find them and do that mitzvah. They open the briefcase. They see all kinds of instruments, but they see a business card. Some are from the States. They call the States. They track him down in the hotel. They bring him the briefcase. The doctor, this individual, is overwhelmed. Where did you find it? The taxi. And they tell him the whole story. That they're going around to collect. He says, what? What's the name of the boy that you're collecting for? And they tell him. And the taxi driver is driving you around for free. He says, yes. That's what we Jewish people do. This is the doctor.
Of course.
And he turns around and says, I'll do it for free.
Oh,
what a miracle. God puts things together.
indeed.
But the other miracle is a natural miracle for us Jewish people. That's natural to help each other out. And just for this alone, able to make the ultimate miracle, bring us Mashiach.
I love the way that ended. Boom! It's like a mic drop. No, that's good. I'd love to see God work in those kind of ways. And really the one of the takeaways I would have
Holidays
that relates to, my life is I've seen that exact thing happen so many times in my life I've lost count. And it's always been the result of taking action. What Jesus would say, believing. When you take believing action towards something, that's when God is able to work. But if you just sit on your hands, if you sit on your butt and you just pray endlessly, if that's all you can do, that's one thing. But there's typically more that you can do than just pray about something. When you're actually taking action, that's when God can actually work. Like in that case, they took the action not knowing how they were going to get an answer. They knew they needed another $50,000. And initially they were just going to go door to door. Like, well, what can we do? Let's just go door to door and ask. I've literally been in this situation before. Let's go door to door. And then they decided, let's take a cab. And then the situation unfolds. The cab ride is free. It just turns out that it's like, that's God moving in the situation, leading them. Like that's an active listening to Hashem. It's like Hashem told them, get up off your feet, go get out. And then maybe instead of door to door, why don't you take a cab? And then lo and behold, there's a briefcase. And it turns out that's the briefcase of the doctor. It sounds amazing, but these stories happen. That may be a true story. All right, well, let's see. Let's finish the night out with answering some comments. I have yet to deal with any negative comments here on these videos. Could just be my perspective. Let's see what we got, though. Hey, Watchful. In Yeshua, let's see, in Matthew, Yeshua was talking to the Jewish disciples. Yahweh's plan, let's see, what is that? I can't read that. Yahweh's plan. Pictures looks like it might not be overriding words. All right. Yahweh's plan timelines for his people and the church are different, I believe. Don't you think it's possible that the Gospels are talking about the second harvest before God's day of wrath? Possibly. This was 2 days ago. In Matthew, Yeshua was talking to the Jewish disciples. Yahweh's plan timelines for his people and the church are different, I believe. Don't you think it's possible that the Gospels are talking about the second harvest before God's day of wrath? So are you suggesting that the first harvest has happened? If you are, I don't think that's the case because of what's written in seal number 6. When Jesus sends his angels to the four corners of the earth to gather the elect. I believe that is the first harvest. Let's go look. Where's that? That's usually in Revelation. I think it's like a 13 or 14. Where's it talked about the harvests? Get out of my way. It's the beast from the earth, 144,000. Here you go. Reaping the earth's harvests. Revelation 14. Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud. On the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. So he who sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. I get the sense that that's seal number 6. And then here you have reaping the grapes of wrath. Then another angel came out. My assumption, I guess you can put it, is that this would be after. So these have got to be 2 different periods of time. This would be seal number 6. This would be, and I don't know when at the seal number 6. I don't know what in Matthew 24 and Revelation 6. Both of those talk about the sun being darkened and the moon not giving its light. In one case, it's the moon will be turned to blood. And so that leads me to believe that that's seal number 6. Reaping the grapes of wrath, even though seal number 6 is called the Lamb's wrath, I think seal number 7 is called the wrath of God. I think that's where the idea of the grapes of wrath best lives because of the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls. They parallel in some ways, not perfectly, the plagues of Egypt, which seems more appropriate to those who didn't wash their robes in the blood of the Lamb, but instead decided to wash themselves as the grapes of wrath. So this says, Then another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle, and another angel came out from the altar who had power over fire, and he cried with a loud cry to him who had a sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. So the angel thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trampled outside of the city, and blood came out of the winepress up to the horses' bridles for 1,600 furlongs. Oh, is this why you're thinking this might be where we are? Well, when did this happen then? I mean, this sounds like Armageddon, right? This sounds like, this could be the Great Tribulation, if that is your point. Don't you think it's possible that the Gospels are talking about the second harvest before God's day of wrath? Possibly. Yeah. Yeah, I see your point. It could be. Definitely. And the winepress was trampled outside the city. See, this reminds me of Revelation 11, where the courtyard was given to the Gentiles to trample, and blood came out of the winepress up to the horses' bridles for 1,600 furlongs. This could be, you could be onto something. The fact that these are like right next to each other could indicate that they're related. Prelude to bowl judgments. Then I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous. Definitely worth further investigation. The proclamation of the 3 angels, the Lamb and 144,000, the beast from the earth. Yeah, we need to get this lined up on some timelines so that we can move the pieces around to consider different possibilities. But I do kind of see your point. Thank you. All right. Why do you call yourself the two witnesses? I'm not a witness. The objection, the objection, the objective of the channel is to find the two witnesses and echo their prophecy for 1,260 days. So, based on observation, I am strongly of the opinion that we are in the end times and that the two witnesses should be active and doing their prophecies right now, prophesying for 1,260 days. And as such, the objective of this channel is to echo what it is that they're saying. So, based on the attributes that we have, that we know about them right now, Donald Trump and Elon Musk fit the majority of the attributes. Granted, there is a little bit of gray area when it comes to like fire from the mouth. Clearly, they don't have fire from the mouth, but they do speak. They do speak in a way that is offensive and very curt and bold and brash. And they're very good at pissing people off, which leads us to one of the other attributes. They torment the world. So that's why we read the posts from Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Now, I'm not beholden to others who may come on the scene who are better fits. Right now, I'm actually I keep trying to consider Benjamin Netanyahu because I think he's a better fit than Elon Musk, kind of. But Elon Musk is really a good fit. We've gotten to know him so well in the time that we've been covering them that he really does fit very well. If you can get through the propaganda about Donald Trump and Elon Musk and you actually see the fruit of their labor every single day, I think you'll agree that these are two very good men that stand before the Lord of the whole earth. And they're really good candidates for the two witnesses. If you're not with us every single day, I can understand why you might not believe that. If you're exposed to a lot of the propaganda about these men, even Canadian Prepper is starting to turn against Donald Trump. There seems to be a consistent cadence of new people turning against these two men. So it wouldn't surprise me if we get to a point where the majority of the world is tormented by the two of them. It just seems to be the direction the world is going. However, like I said, I'm not beholden to them. I'm not gonna sit here and, if two men show up breathing fire from their mouth, I'm not gonna be like, no, it's still Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Obviously, if two men show up in Israel breathing fire, we're gonna switch our attention over to monitoring them every single day. But it's an interesting concept for the show because if Donald Trump and Elon Musk ever drop off the scene for even a day, it completely eliminates them as one of the possible two witnesses because it's said that they'll prophesy for 1,260 days. The assumption is that is consecutive days. And right now we're on like day 431 of them actually doing that, to where they talk every single day. They're pointing out, they're speaking truth every single day. They're making truthful statements every single day, which is definitely a form of prophecy. Speaking the truth. So there's, biblically, my understanding when studying prophecy is it comes in the form of foretelling and forthtelling. Foretelling is telling the future. When you speak prophetically, Jesus did this. He told us when his disciples asked him, what signs can we expect when you return? He spoke prophetically and gave us future events. But there's also speaking the truth, which is forthtelling, when you speak forth something, and that is usually confrontational. That's speaking the truth in the face of opposition. And that is something that we see. That's why you see Donald Trump saying, they're liars, they're lying, this is a lie, this is manipulation, they cheated, they did this. That's prophecy. Likewise, Elon Musk does the same thing. Do you see what's happening in the United Kingdom? Men and women sports should not be a thing. Transitioning is evil. Men are not women. Women are not men. Men cannot have babies. It's like both of these men are speaking these truthful things every single day. At the potential costs to their reputation and their livelihood, which is part of the wearing the sackcloth. So that's why the channel is called The Two Witnesses Live, is because we are monitoring them live. And I don't do 7 days a week just because I don't have the endurance of Donald Trump. But I do 5 days a week. We observe the Sabbath. I recommend that you read Matthew 7:22 and let that scare you. Every Christian should read Is it Matthew? Yeah, it's Matthew 7:22, the scariest section of the Bible, which says, "Many will come to me in that day, Lord, and many will come to me and say to me in that day." Jeez, my quoting. Let's just read it. Words today. Matthew 7:22. 7:22. This is your wake-up call. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Well, the Sabbath is part of the law, and we do our best to observe the law. It's not the burden that some would make it out to be. It has not been obliterated like others would have you believe. It is a blessing, and it will uplift your life and make you a better person. And it is truly how you love God. The law is instruction in how you love God. He says as much in Exodus 20. That if you want to know what hate is worshiping other gods, also known as iniquity. So Jesus says, depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Well, I think it's prudent that you spend some time with God. Is it so hard to take a day off and spend it with your family and with God? Because that's what the Sabbath is about. So we observe the Sabbath around here. So as such, we don't broadcast 2 days a week. We usually take off Saturday and Sunday. All right, moving on. Yes, I saw you for a bit. I don't know what that means. The video, and let's see, this video and its information is spot on. Thank you. Look up Michael Denny. His knowledge and wisdom is excellent. Michael Denny. Sure. I hear the guinea outside my door. You guys know what a guinea fowl is? It's a very annoying bird. He's not too bad. This little guinea fowl, he's okay. You can look up guinea fowl if you want to know what they look like. In small doses, they're pretty manageable. He just walks around the yard looking for ticks, eating bugs, and looking for a buddy. They scare pretty easily. But man, you get a group of guinea fowl, and oh boy, are they annoying. We only have one. He was somebody tossed him over the fence and left him here one day. Apparently that happens. Let's see. FYI, I read this Paris versus Google before they removed a page from those court pages. What I read proved that AI is the beast, and it said it will know who is and who isn't taking to AI. And they would use drones to delete those ones. I read that and wish I would have made copies of it. Okay. I don't know what to do with that. You're saying that you have special knowledge about understanding the beasts. Why do we have to believe that? I mean, just because somebody says something doesn't make it true. Your green screen is you know what? Lighting and green screens are are a challenge, especially lately because the weather outside, like right now, it's probably 65, 70 degrees outside, and the sun is just now starting to go down. Today's been the sunniest day that we've had in a long time, but at the start of the show, it'll be dark, and the end of the show, it'll be light, and it's really hard to get things to adjust for these green screens. It's funny if you were to see, I'm actually in a green screen box because I keep putting up more and more green screen trying to fix the thing. Really, I think the way I solve it is just get more aggressive with my lighting. But anyway, sorry about that. Love guinea. My chi used to love to herd them. Your children used to love to herd them? Yeah, they are fun to herd. They're fun to chase. They're fast. They're like little road runners. Trump should be careful and put his guard down. Should not have that trust easily those 10 ships loaded with oil. Could be same as trap, like the Trojan horse. The ships might have also loaded with hidden nuclear warheads. Once it reaches U.S., it will blow us up. Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of when he said that they're giving us gifts. I imagine they're smart enough to think the same thing. Thank you for commenting. Has everybody been getting hearts? No. You get a heart. 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 There you go. If I don't give you guys a heart, then it'll keep showing the same comments. Not that I don't want to give you a heart. I do appreciate you guys commenting. Assuming you know that Passover has its origins in an ancient Mesopotamian spring festival called Akitu, celebrating the barley harvest. It became Chag Ha-Aviv for the Hebrews. The blood of a slaughtered sheep was placed around the door to ward off evil spirits. The Canaanite version also included unleavened bread, which was connected to the barley harvest. It was only later that the Exodus story was woven into it. In short, people know it today as a Jewish holiday in commemoration of the Exodus. But its origins go considerably deeper into pagan past. You know what? We are living in a day of technology, and it is super easy to validate or invalidate these kind of comments. I have no idea what you're talking about. But you know who does? Grok. Is this true? See what Grok has to say. Yes, the statement is mostly accurate in its broad outline, according to mainstream biblical scholarship on the historical and cultural origins of Passover, Pesach. However, some details are simplified or overstated, and the connection to the specific Mesopotamian Akitu festival is more indirect or speculative than a direct origin. Scholars widely view Passover as emerging from the merger of two older pre-Israelite or early Israelite practices in the ancient Near East, later historicized, given a narrative framework, with the Exodus story. So you have the pastoral apotropaic protective ritual, a springtime sacrifice of a lamb or young goat by semi-nomadic shepherds. The blood smeared on doorposts served as a protective rite to ward off evil or destructive forces. Example given, night demons or plagues affecting firstborn livestock. This aligns closely with the biblical description in Exodus 12, where the blood causes the destroyer to pass over the marked houses. And then agricultural harvest festival tied to the barley harvest in spring, the month of Abib, meaning spring, or the time when barley ripens. This included eating unleavened bread, matzah, likely as a practical or ritual way to start the new crop cycle fresh, discarding old fermented dough to avoid contaminating the new harvests. In the Bible, it's called Chag Ha-Aviv, Festival of Spring, or Chag Ha-Matzot, Festival of Unleavened Bread. These elements were common in the cultural milieu of ancient Canaan and broader Levant. The Canaanite version of a spring festival involved unleavened bread connected to the barley harvest, as the statement notes. Over time, likely during the formation of Israel identity in the late Bronze, early Iron Age, these were combined into one observance and reframed around the Exodus narrative, liberation from Egypt, the 10th plague, and the hasty departure, explaining the unleavened bread in the story. The Exodus story, as we know it, was woven in later, becoming the dominant theological meaning. The Bible itself preserves hints of the older agricultural and protective layers. References to months of Aviv and the first sheaf of barley. The Akitu connection. Akitu was a real ancient Mesopotamian Sumerian, Babylonian, Assyrian spring festival, often linked to the new year in the month of Nisan, corresponding to the biblical first month it celebrated. The sowing or harvest of barley, seasonal renewal, the god Marduk's victory, and the king's enthronement. It was not primarily a blood on doors to ward off evil spirits rite. That sounds more like general ancient Near Eastern apotropaic practices, common across cultures, including possible Mesopotamian influences like rituals against demons, such as lama stew. Sounds like lamb stew. Some scholars note thematic overlaps or motifs between Akitu and Passover, timing in spring, Nisan, barley connection, renewal themes, and cultural exchange could have occurred, especially during the Babylonian exile, when Jews were exposed to Mesopotamian traditions. However, Passover's roots are more directly traced to local Canaanite, Levantine, agricultural, and pastoral customs, rather than a wholesale borrowing from Akitu. Claims of direct derivation from Akitu are speculative or popular simplifications. The festivals differ significantly in rituals, length, and focus. Pagan past. Oh man, we're finally at the end. Pagan past summary. The statement's conclusion is broadly correct. Modern Passover is celebrated as a Jewish holiday, commemorating the Exodus and themes of freedom, redemption, but its deeper layers include pre-monotheistic, nature-based, and protective rituals shared with neighboring cultures, pagan in the sense of polytheistic or animistic, ancient Near Eastern practices. The biblical authors reinterpreted and monotheized these elements, just as happened with many other Israelite festivals and customs. This is a standard view in academic biblical studies from sources like My Jewish Learning, the Torah Project, and Wikipedia summaries of scholarship. Traditional religious perspectives may emphasize the divine command in Exodus as a primary origin, viewing any earlier parallels as coincidental or preparatory. In short, the claim holds up reasonably well as a simplified historical overview, with the strongest support from the Canaanite barley unleavened bread and protective blood ritual aspects, and a loser, but not unfounded. I have a visitor. See if he wants to be on the show. Salesman. Let's see. Broader Mesopotamian spring traditions like Akitu. I don't know. This reminds me of listening to Rabbi Tovi Singer. I'd considered doing a video on, let me find it. I considered doing commentary on this video from Rabbi Tovi Singer, where he's talking about Paul's distorted the sacrificial system. Here's the thing. When it comes to knowing what's true, I think we all want to believe that what we believe is true and 100% correct. So, on one hand, we want to believe that the Bible is 100% true, and I do, and that the stories that are told in it are accurate and true and something that we can live our life according to. But at the same time, we have to remember that these are put together, that these are individual writings that have been accumulated throughout the years that were canonized into a book for convenience. And this is my point, is there is truth outside of the Bible, and there is truth contained within the Bible. And and the best we can do is try and find out what, the thing that we can actually prove to be true. It's significantly harder for things that are old, things that we didn't experience, things that are the origin to the thing that we do today. According to this, many of the statements are true, but it also sounds like it's an oversimplification and there's a lot of assumptions built into the statement. So which comes first? The Canaanite rituals or the Exodus? Did the Exodus happen and then the Canaanites, tried to adopt a ritual based on the Passover? Or was the Passover implemented in such a way to communicate to both Jew and Gentile? I don't know. I don't have the answer for these things. I appreciate you commenting and bringing it up. I don't know. I'm not going to put a stamp on one thing as being right or the other. And I think that's where Rabbi Tovi Singer makes a mistake in this video, which I'm not going to comment on. It's 40 minutes long. And I considered, taking out the different parts where he's showing the difference between Hebrews and Psalms and, blood, in his perspective, blood doesn't make atonement for sin. But here's the thing. We're in this period of time. So this is what's so great about the time we're living in right now. And this is why I've made the central focus of this channel beyond the two witnesses, John 14:29. Here, let's go read John 14:29. John 14:29. So this is the mission statement, if you will. The purpose is to echo the two witness, but this is the mission statement. And now I have told you before it comes, that when it does come to pass, you may believe. So we have a book that has information about the future, and we're living in that future time where those things are coming to pass. That is evidence of the things written were true. So we are seeing evidence that Jesus was right. He told us these things would come to pass. They're coming to pass. Now we believe. That is where my focus is on. And according to this book, he kept Passover. According to this book, the Last Supper that he participated in was a type of Passover. He was the lamb. This echoes back to Genesis, where God told Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. He obeyed him. He took him up, got prepared, was about to do the deed, and God sent a lamb in his place to be sacrificed instead of his son. Why? To make atonements. I don't know if that was based on some Canaanite ritual or something like that, but it's the foundation of a man who is written about in the scripture, who gave information about the future that's actually happening. So that leads me to believe that this is true. And I think that's ultimately what's going to lead the Jews. They have a lot of things right. But, they're in the same way that we're looking for Yeshua to return, they're looking for their Messiah to come. I think we're going to come to the realization together that Yeshua is that Messiah. And I believe that's one of the things that we're doing in this channel is we're pointing out the things that are true, that are coming to pass. And we've got a good record of evidence, things that have been observed and documented and proven. And so much so that we can understand what the future holds. I mean, how many of us knew that that the world was going to come against Israel? And what's happening right now? The world is coming against Israel. How many of us knew that there would be two guys that would torment the world? There are two men who are tormenting the world right now, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. You don't have to believe me. You're free to believe whatever it is that you want for whatever reason. If you've got something that has changed your mind, that's fine. But this is why I believe. I believe because Jesus told us the things that would happen before he returns, and those things are happening right now. And that's amazing. That's exciting. That's what gets me doing the show every single day. That's what gets me up here talking about this every single day. Yeah, I don't understand the full history and ritual and archaeology behind everything that we read in the scripture. And I'm sure there is, multiple explanations. Maybe Passover was, I don't know. I don't know which one came first, but I know we have enough evidence to believe the Bible and to believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, that Jesus is the Son of God, that in the same way that he gave an example to Abraham that he would send a lamb, Jesus was that lamb. And that there is importance in his blood because there's a lot of stuff about the blood. being washed in the blood of the Lamb. Leviticus 17:11, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you on the altar to make atonements. Let's see, Big Chief Loudmouth. Aren't the last 2 generations before Christ's return the 2 witnesses, seeing the shenanigans of the last days before the new days? I wouldn't say the last 2 generations. So you're saying the 2 generations are the 2 witnesses? Well, it's the first I've heard that. It's a new one. No, I think it's quite literally. Well, I guess I didn't explain this fully. I think Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the leaders. In Zechariah 4, when it says the 2 olive trees who stand before the Lord of the whole earth, the thing is they're called the 2 anointed ones who stand before the Lord of the whole earth. But what it is that they're doing is they are providing the fuel for the lampstands, which the lampstands are the churches. So basically, you've got Donald Trump and Elon Musk making it available for us to shine bright as lights today. That's really the truth of the matter. I think we're in that last 3.5-year window, which it's interesting because there's an overlap with Donald Trump and Elon Musk and seal number 6 and seal number 7. Let me see if I can bring up. I'm in the middle of trying to make this live. Oh, yeah, it still works. Here. So this is a timeline. Yeah, so we're right here. So this is when Trump. Oops, wrong window. Right there. So that's when Trump and Elon Musk started working together. January 20th, 2025. And then 1,260 days later puts us at where's that chart? Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. This one? It's got to be this one. There it is. There you go. July 3rd, 2028. So if seal number 6 opens up a year earlier, then the harvest would be before their death. I don't know if that's true. We could count backwards from here, 1,260 days, and see what happened on that day to see if it points to 2 different guys. But I don't know. For all intents and purposes, it seems like it's Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And until I have a better argument for paying attention to something else, we'll continue to read their posts. I mean, that's the consequence. You get to read some annoying posts, which much of the time is actually quite funny. I have considered starting to broadcast his cabinet meetings because it's almost like watching a comedy show. If you haven't watched Donald Trump's cabinet meetings, it's a crack up. It's highly entertaining. All right, that's all I got. You guys have any more comments, questions that you want to talk about before we go and enjoy our Sabbath? Joel, if you're still listening, please send me that email. I look forward to it. We'll get you guys on the show. We'll start figuring out the logistics for getting guests on the show, and we can start doing those portions again. Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate it. Yeah, there we go. Enjoy your Sabbath. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. We do this, it is really a we. It's not just me. Fury is the moderator, and those of you who are here on a regular basis. We do this Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we typically go 1 to 2 hours, and on rare occasions, 3 hours. And then the videos that you see outside the live channel are usually snippets from this portion of the show. Sometimes shorter, sometimes short. I try to get like 20-minute clips, but they always come out to be like an hour. Maybe we'll get somebody to help make clips for the show so that we can get some condensed content and easy to digest portions But the show's continuing to grow, continue to advance, and try new things. But if you like this kind of content, please hit the like button on the video and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you guys again here Monday through Friday. God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom. Happy Sabbath. Shabbat shalom.